Rotary certainly has some membership challenges. However, there are people who are thinking creatively and seeing membership growth. We're going to talk to these inventive Rotarians and get some tips that you can try. Welcome to the Innovative Clubs videocast. Hey folks, good to see you again on the Innovative Clubs videocast. I'm here today, have the honor today of being here with Tiffany Ervin, the immediate past district governor in District 7670, which is in Western North Carolina. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Andy. Thanks so much.
Yeah, glad you're here. Thanks for taking the time. So why don't we kick it right off? I've heard you talk about a passport club. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what a passport club is and why you wanted to start one?
Absolutely. So the unique thing about a passport club is it is unlike any other club in a district. This club does not have its own service projects or its own fundraisers or special events, and they typically don't even have programs as part of their meetings. The beauty of that is these folks are available to volunteer with any Rotary Club in our district or beyond. It's almost like a no borders type of club, but it didn't start out as an e-club. Obviously right now, a lot of our clubs are e-clubs, but it didn't start out that way. The intent was to have in-person meetings twice a month for networking and fellowship and social time, but to not create their own service projects, to not create their own fundraisers, but to encourage them to get out and volunteer in their own community with a club that perhaps they had been a member of before, or with a variety of clubs and opportunities.
Excellent. That sounds like a really unique way to do Rotary.
Sure, it came about because I had talked to so many people while I was district governor that I would say, hey, you used to be a really active member of such and such Rotary Club. Why aren't you a member now? And I was always hearing the same responses. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. The traditional club format really isn't for me. And I would invite them to other clubs and they go, that's really not for me either. So I said, what if I could start a club that was specifically geared toward the things that you're telling me? And I had so many former members say that I would do. So that inspired me to start it. I wish I could take credit for the idea. I heard about it in another part of the country, did a little research, and then kind of tweaked it a little to make it our own. We actually decided we would print a hard copy of a passport and give it to all of the members who joined our club so they could physically take it with them when they went to a service project or when they visited another club. They could get a stamp or a sticker or just someone to sign it. It gave them something physical to show that really represents their Rotary Club.
That's cool. That's a really cool idea. And also you made it fun too with the passport piece and having a little fun with it.
It's all about fun. That's what I've said from the very beginning. If Rotary could do two things, have fun and do some good in the world, then everything else will fall into place.
Good call. I love that. I love that motto. So talk about, kind of your process. What did that look like as you were forming this idea? What did it look like before your first official meeting?
So I decided that the easiest way for me to do this, because I was DGE at the time that we started this, was to do it as a satellite of my club because I could then help manage it. I think it would be a little more challenging to start as a brand new club, although it might not, depending on who you attract into the organization. For me, I was really targeting a lot of former members of Rotary to get started because I knew that they had enough Rotary background and knowledge that they could help keep it going even without me being there all the time. And that was really critical because of my time commitment with the other district leadership things going on at the same time. So by recruiting some folks who had previously been in Rotary, they understood the big picture, but they wanted something different. They were the perfect audience for us to create something brand new. So we started meeting twice a month at a gas station bar. And I know that sounds really crazy, but it was a new concept here in Western North Carolina. The guy that owned it had been a previous Rotarian. So when I reached out to him and said, hey, this is what I want to do, he thought it was a fabulous idea. He had just opened these little pubs in his gas stations here, and he thought that would be a great way to get people in there to know that it was there. So we literally met in a gas station for several months. We would pull tables together. We would start with 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 people until it began to grow. And eventually, we were not only bringing in former former members of Rotary, but also some Rotaractors who had been in Rotaract, graduated from college. They were young. They didn't want to go to a legacy club. It just wasn't what would appeal to them. So we attracted them as well. And then the more I talked about it to other people, we started bringing in people who had never been in Rotary before, people that I had asked for years and years, because if you know me, you are going to be invited to Rotary, because if you're a friend of mine or an acquaintance or a business associate of mine, you deserve to be in Rotary. You're going to be asked at some point. And some of these folks just said, we've been asked for years and years, but nothing that you had given us really attracted me. And this was something different. So eventually we outgrew the gas station. We moved to a local restaurant, still meeting twice a month. And it took all in all about 1.5 years to charter as a full club. But we had great leadership from previous members, which I think was really key for us. But again, it was that concept of something new, something different, utilizing people who knew enough about Rotary to help us get it started, and then doing it as a satellite so it could grow slowly, and that would be okay.
Awesome. That's really cool. So how you talked a little bit in there about how you recruited people to attend and how they came. Did you got a lot of either previous Rotarians or Rotarians who were, we'll call them on the fence, as far as their membership, and some Rotaractors. Did you recruit anybody who was very new to Rotary, and what did that process look like?
Sure. And again, with me, I keep a running list at all times of folks that I would like to invite to Rotary. So some of them I had invited previously to meetings. They had even visited, they had done service projects, but they had never found the right fit. But as far as people who knew absolutely nothing about Rotary, there were some folks that did invite people to this concept when they met them, and they said, oh, well, let me tell you something new about Rotary. And so we did get a few new members in that sense as well. But honestly, we had really good luck working with people who knew a little bit about Rotary, but wanted to Rotary Light, I've heard some people call it. I disagree with that. I don't think there's anything light about it. These guys are full-fledged Rotarians, and they're working really hard. It's just different and unique. And we've been really fortunate that they have loved the concept of volunteering with other clubs and volunteering in their own communities, no matter where they live. And even now, during the pandemic, when people can't meet in person, they're still meeting online, but they're finding out about other projects that other clubs have. And I will say that is the key to making this type of format club successful, is really networking and fellowship with other local clubs.
That's great. So I'm not sure if I missed it and you said it, and what does the typical meeting look like? You meet twice a month. What does that look like?
Absolutely. It is very unique. It is not your typical legacy Rotary Club. There's no call to order. There's no bell. There's no banner hanging up. There's no happy dollars. There's no program, no speaker, no pledge of allegiance. It is not a typical Rotary Club. It is show up when you can at the bar or at the restaurant typically, and they actually are going back to some hybrid meetings starting next week, so that's exciting. And it's order food, order a drink, sit around and network and fellowship for about half an hour, and then for the final half an hour, the president leads some discussion about what other clubs in the area might be having projects going on, what district fundraisers and events are going on. They talk some Rotary talk, but there's no stand up, pledge of allegiance, say the four-way test, happy dollars, any of that. It's very atypical, if you will, but it really works for this group. The other thing that I love about it is they try to invite, and I worked really hard at this in the beginning, and I will say it's probably one of the challenges that we're facing because of the situation that we're in right now, but we have to work really hard to invite members of other clubs to come and learn about this club, because it's a great way for another club to get volunteers. I had several people say to me when I first started this concept, you're going to take away our members that don't want to pay for meals. That's going to be, you're just going to recruit them out of our club and bring them on. That's not what we were looking for at all. And I can honestly say that no members moved to that club from another club. Instead, we brought people back to Rotary who had left. But one of the things that the other clubs are now learning is that if they need additional hands on deck for delivering meals or cleaning up the streets or whatever, delivering dictionaries, whatever service project they're working on, Even if it's an international service project, they come, they share during that last half hour of that meeting. And I use the word meeting very loosely because it's not much of a meeting. It's more of a social time and fellowship and networking. But they use that time to share their projects. This group has even done some pop-up service projects. So I'll give you an example. Another local club was sending a couple of their members to the Honduras on a dental brigade. So I invited them to come and speak to this club, not as a program or a speaker necessarily, but to share some information a month before they left. They came, they talked about it. The guys got really excited about this project. And the next 2 weeks later, when they met, they all brought toothpaste and toothbrushes and things like that they could then donate as part of that. They felt like they were making an impact. They were helping create lasting change. They were doing something Rotary related, and they were working and partnering with another local club. So it really was a win-win for everyone.
That's awesome. I love it. Tell me a little bit about some obstacles. You talked a little bit about the whether they came from the host club or from other clubs, about the people worrying that you're going to, steal, quote unquote, Rotarians from other clubs. I know that in the satellite club that I've helped out, that was a concern. The only ones that we had move were people who were on the fence about leaving Rotary anyway. So anyway, talk about that a little bit, and maybe even some challenges from folks, if you had any pushback about not doing the traditional Rotary meeting, pledge, prayer, four-way, all of the things.
So it's really interesting. I will say you're right. The obstacles that people think about satellite clubs or innovative clubs is that they are going to detract from their current membership. I can honestly say I started the first satellite club in our district in 2015. And since then, we've had probably 15 or 20 that have developed and either chartered out or merged with another club. And we've never had that problem here. People always think it's going to be a problem. And I always say, just give me a chance. Let me show you what we're doing. And it always works out. So we've been very fortunate in that sense that we really haven't. We've brought a lot of people back to Rotary, and we've introduced a lot of people to Rotary that knew nothing about us before, but we really haven't stolen, if you will, members from other clubs. The other challenge, though, truly has been not that non-traditional format that you mentioned. It's been letting people know that they exist and finding a way for them to all communicate. It was such a new concept, and they just recently chartered the end of June, so they've only become an official club for a couple of months now. But during that time is when regular clubs weren't meeting. And so they weren't able to go and visit other clubs and share who they are and what they do. So I think that's been the biggest challenge, only simply because of the circumstances. They do have a social media presence. They have a Facebook page is where they share information. And I was managing that for them for the first year or so. So I was trying to always share what other clubs were putting on social media and tag that club in the other club's posts so that they would know that they were around. And I will say that still to this day, maybe because of, again, circumstances, that's probably the biggest challenge that we face, is letting people know that they're there. They are ready to volunteer and be active members of Rotary and of community service projects, and sometimes they just don't know about them. But as far as the traditional aspect of a Rotary meeting, we haven't had any pushback from that. But again, it might be because of the people who are joining all wanted something different. They all wanted this. And I always say, it's not for everyone. This is not carte blanche. It's a la carte. You decide what works for you. And if you are really comfortable in a traditional legacy club that is very formal and they wear suits and ties, then by all means, that's what you should do. But if you're looking for something a little different, where you can sit and have a beer with your buddies and not feel obligated to be fined if you're not wearing something or whatever the case may be, then there are clubs out there for you. And that's what's most important, is that there's something for everyone. We just have to figure out what the value is to that club and what the value is that that individual is looking for.
That's awesome. Awesome. What advice would you give to someone who's considering starting a similar club?
Well, the first advice I would say is be open to the opportunities. And that's obviously what our theme is this year, that Rotary opens opportunities, and you just have to be open to new ideas. The second thing is to really find some champions that are going to work hard for you, people that believe in the cause, that want to make a difference. And perhaps that's previous members who really want to be back in Rotary, but couldn't find their place for whatever reason, money, time, projects, format, whatever the case may be. There are those people out there. Find them, let them become your champions, and let them help the club grow. I believe that there's only room for one passport club in a district because it doesn't have boundaries. We even have some members in South Carolina that are a member of our passport club because they're friends of mine and they're always up here volunteering with me anyway. They're coming to all of my events, they're coming to all of my service projects. So that it was only right that they should join a club that had no borders and no boundaries in our district. But I think one of these clubs in a district is plenty because of that reason. So that's how we've approached it in our district. Some other districts might decide to do something different, but we call it our Western North Carolina District 7670 Passport Club. And I think that the possibilities are endless if you're open to the opportunity and you're willing to try something new. And it might not work. It might, and that's okay too. But something will. You just have to find the right match with the right people with the right needs.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, I can't thank you enough. I think that's a perfect way to end it. I want to give you a virtual high five. High five.
Woohoo, you got it.
All right. Good
Absolutely.
job on that. We appreciate it. And until next time, folks, we'll see you soon.